All right. Thanks for joining us today. We have a very exciting topic today. We're going to talk with Dr. Hall in regards to kind of dissecting, kind of digging into the perfect sales process. As we get into the sponsorship, we'll talk about what we've been developing over the last 20 years and really want to dig into the details of what kind of the construct, what the framework is of the perfect sales process. If you had all things running and on all cylinders, kind of what that perfect scenario would look like. So we're going to talk about how we meet, preferred meeting of our clients, how to qualify them to see if they're a good fit, building rapport, establishing resonance, kind of the uh, uh, a way to best build a trusted advisor role and how to handle objections, and then get into problem solvings, which quite often is the case and needed, and then ultimately how to loop back around to create other referrals and repeat business. So with that, let me introduce you to Dr. Hall. Dr. Hall's a business psychologist, a multi-time author, public speaker, and executive coach. And the neuro nerd side reflects how it is that we, in application and practical day to day, how do we apply the things that we talk about? How you doing today, Dr. Hall?
I'm well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we pivoted on our topic here a little bit from initially this morning, but I like this one. I don't know about better, but certainly as I've been constructing the outline, I'm super interested in your thoughts in the psychology of sales,
Yeah.
so that we can best serve our clients. So I appreciate your input on that.
Oh, yeah. I'm delighted. Jared, in my adult life, I don't think I've ever had a day go as planned. That you changed the topic is no big deal.
Here we go. Yeah, well, let's have some
Yeah.
fun with it for sure. Well, let me do a couple of housekeeping items here. For those of you that I haven't met, my name is Jerod Lee. I'm the associate broker and team lead here at My Home Connection. Our sponsor for today is the Perfect Real Estate Business. Quite simply, we're looking to reinvent real estate from a mindset perspective. How do we introduce business coaching, life coaching, mentoring, training? Some of the things that I think are often missed in helping to build a good, viable, strong real estate business, and of course, bringing into the must-haves side of things. But really, what we'd like you to take advantage of is the no obligation consultation, that conversation around how we can best help you with your efforts. But other than that, let's chat with Dr. Hall about kind of the psychology of sales. uh I call it the perfect sales process. There isn't one. It's aspirational,
Right.
right? um but if everything just kind of fell in line, and you walked away helping somebody buy a home, and you'd be like, wow, that was absolutely amazing. It was a win-win for everybody, and
Hmm.
it just kind of flowed. So why not describe that and then try our best to always get there, is kind of what I was hoping to do today.
Yeah. I think your setup is perfect. That nothing is perfect, but if you don't set up a process, you'll you'll veer all over the place. So it's important to set up kind of an outline and a structure. It'll never go to plan, but every great successful person has always had a plan and then been able to adapt on the fly. So it's great that you have a plan.
Yeah, I love the way you put that, because it's if you're just winging it and then you do a postmortem later or review and you're like, wow, that didn't even come close to perfect. It's like, well, because you didn't define perfect. You didn't kind of say
Right.
what those attributes are, what those tenets are. But anyway, yeah, let's chat a little bit about and we've talked to some degree about this before, but I think just having the stage set for you creates the optimal scenario, right? It's a
Yes.
client that's been referred to you by a highly trusted, well-respected, friend or family member that just
Hmm.
sings your praises. So you've already done work to get that um, highly trusted referral, And so the foundation is kind of laid for you to start building.
Yeah, because what a referral does is it allows you to stand on the foundation of that prior relationship. There's a social psychological concept that's mostly related to how we connect with larger entities, but I love the concept. It's called Burging, which
Hmm,
is an acronym: basking in reflected glory.
interesting.
So, basking in reflected glory. In other words, when we feel identified with an entity, we're more likely to bring it up. We're more likely to wear things, clothes, keep a hold of things because we feel like some of that goodness comes on us. And my favorite example of this happens with college students and their college football teams, that the Monday after a win, more college students wear their university logo wear than the Monday after a loss.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So what happens is people feel good about their university, then they want to express that. Well, the same thing happens with friends. That if we have a strong positive association with somebody, we get connected and we get lumped together in that same positive attitude. And so anytime we receive a referral, to one degree or another, we're basking in the reflected glory of the person who's given us the referral.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So that doesn't always happen. Sometimes we literally just, if you're doing lead gen or something along those lines, or
Yeah,
just,
sometimes.
yeah.
But even if you're doing lead gen, let's say you're using lead gen through an established platform.
Hmm.
Well, you're gaining
Sure.
from your association with that platform.
Yeah. Yeah. Go from, known entity, here, that's got a name recognition versus Jim Bob's real estate uh,
Yeah,
services. And
yeah,
like, I don't know who that is.
yeah. I won't name the organizations, but there's some leading real estate organizations with an online presence, and then there are places where you can buy a used lawnmower and find a realtor. Well, where are you going to go?
Right. Right. Yeah, no, agreed. And then the introduction to, I also encourage folks to have some type of validation, right? We work very hard on our, Google right now is kind of that web presence where people go to see, yeah, who are these people about, and then specifically, what do their reviews look like? Are they strong? Are they weak? Are they accurate? Are they true? Or are they bots or whatever? So I would say, optimally that really strong referral, that trusted
Yep.
entity, that backing, because that's what you're going to typically do, right? Is get a name and then you're going to Google it to see what other people thought about it too, and you want to see that quickly and reinforce that this is the right way to go in, right? Because we want to feel good about the direction we want to go in, but if we don't feel good, we're going to look at multiple things.
Right.
So the quicker that I can help somebody feel good about, hey, I've already found it. Don't spend a whole lot of time looking around, the better.
Right. Well, I want to bring up a point that's going to help us now and hurt us later.
Okay.
Is when when we are uncertain, we look for other people to tell us what to do.
Mm,
So when we're looking for validation, testimonials, when I'm uncertain, let's say about a realtor, um, when I'm uncertain, I'm going to look around for testimonials. And if I see a bunch of testimonials, I'm going to say, "Oh, okay, I've got I've got evidence beyond myself that this person is a good choice." Now that'll help us now, that tendency for people to look for someone to tell them what to do when they're uncertain helps us now. But when it comes to giving people objective advice, which we'll talk about, I think, next time, that's when it's going to hurt us. So we'll talk
okay.
about that later.
Yeah, that's a good point. We looked at this episode and we're going to cover a lot of ground, so it might be a part two. So just,
Yeah.
track with us as far as we can get today. And then it sounds like that one might be in the follow-up episode. But
Right.
um, and then as you were talking, I put in first impression, and I meant to put it in, right? Because I think either our last episode or the one right before that was about
Yeah.
first impression. So again, you got that foundation, and like you said, you're kind of building on that foundation, right? You've got good name recognition for this prospective client. They've looked you up online, and now they're cementing that thought. And now they're going to see you face to face, and they're either going to cement it further, or it's going to be, kind of stretched or debated a little bit. Like, hey, is this fall in line with kind of what I thought of this person, right? And from a psychological point, can you potentially pull in a negative way from what you've done up front by being
Oh,
late or not dressed well, or I mean, you can really
well,
hammer on that if you're not careful, right?
the other way you can harm your first impression, this is a lot like a dating app. If you don't look like the picture that you're presenting of yourself, and you're 20 years older,
Yeah.
people are going to go, okay,
If you're fake
little
there,
vanity here.
are you
You know,
fake
let
everywhere? Oh, there you go. Yeah, is it vanity or is it fake or
yeah. Okay, so you're posting a picture. Back when you had hair, that's probably not your best, or 50 pounds later. So what they're going to do is they're going to have an idea about what you're about, and you want to be as consistent as possible with their expectation.
yeah. It's funny you say that. I won't spend a whole lot of time on this, but I got a photo headshot, right? We get headshots as real estate agents, and
Yeah.
it hasn't been a super long time, but it was hyper edited. And of course, it looks good, but I'm like, does it look too good? I mean,
Yes.
it looks good compared to my other photos. Anyway, so now I'm rethinking that. I'm like, yeah, it's probably over edited, and I need to.
Yeah.
Because when I got it in my email, I'm like, wow, what'd they do? Who is that? And then I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
it
Who's
looks kind
that?
of good.
Exactly.
And anyway, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on that. But if you're curious kind of how to either set the stage or reinforce what you're trying to accomplish from a first impression standpoint, go back and look at that episode. We talked about your attire, your vehicle, your adornments, right?
Right.
Your tattoos and
Yeah.
piercings.
Your personal and your public artifacts. Right.
Yes, thank you. I couldn't recall how you worded that, but I love the way that's put. So again, this is kind of that perfect scenario, right? We've done all the right things, and these people are like, "Wow, this is our person. We're super excited to work with this person because this is a high anxiety exercise, and everything seems to lead to we found our person, our you know."
Right.
So, okay, so let's transition to, do I want to work with this person, right? So in a perfect space, you just flow, like the conversation matches and your interests align, and you got commonality, and I don't know, in recreation and in job, or career field, or you know anyway, any number of things, and it just works. And then you got, sometimes you're just, everything you say just kind of doesn't fit. So I put the qualification, hopefully you're at a point in your career where you could politely or gracefully, politely turn away or gracefully bow out of opportunities, because you just kind of don't know. I put experience here, right? They're looking for something that isn't quite in your wheelhouse, or um, you know, it's at a price point you're not comfortable with. Anyway, what's your thoughts on how much that right fit assessment is important? Like, don't chase everything.
I don't think. Um, Let me start it the opposite way. I think right fit is one of the most important things. I
Mm,
don't think you can have a great outcome unless you have a right fit at the beginning. There's so much evidence in professional relationships that um, that not everybody is everybody else's jam. So you may want to serve everyone, but you probably won't serve everyone as well. And I remember um, one of my professors taught me a really important lesson when he was asked to write a letter of recommendation. And if it was from a student he didn't think that much of, he'd say, you know what? I really want you to, for example, get into graduate school.
Okay.
And it's going to take, out of 100, you're going to need letters that are 95 to 100. You
Mm.
know, you're going to need really, really stellar letters. I think I can write you a letter that's probably a 90,
Mm.
but I don't think that's going to get you what you want.
Interesting.
And I think the same
Honest
thing can
and
happen with fit. You can
yeah.
say, listen, I want you to get the right house. And I think I can probably do probably a B plus, A minus job for you. And I will do my best. But I think there's a little bit of distance between where I work best and what you're looking for. And I want you to get the best outcome possible. So here's who I'd recommend.
Yeah, and in our industry that can be fairly easy to do because the referral fee process is well known and highly used. So, take take an approach of I'm doing what's best for the client
Yeah,
at a lesser pay to refer them to the right agent for their
right,
needs.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the way you worded that, the honest approach of, I want what's best for you and let's figure out what that looks like.
Let's find out who that
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Who that is. Yeah. Yeah. I'd put in here kind of, does your experience align with what they need? Um, we've talked a lot about presuppositions and that's a massive conversation. Um, so I don't want to spend a ton of time on it, but from your standpoint, how can you quickly best identify knowing these people if their presuppositions are ones that you can help with versus ones you can't? I hope I asked that in a way.
Well, I think one of the things we talked about before we started recording was about idealism versus realism.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and and this quote comes from my intellectual hero, a guy named Thomas Sowell, and I think it applies in many situations, but I think it applies here as well, which is there are no solutions, only trade-offs.
Mm,
And so if you have clients who have this desire for this perfect outcome, that we're going to have a, a, a perfect place to live, and if you really believe you can find that for them, then you're a great match.
yeah.
But if you're someone like me who doesn't believe that's possible, if I was to work with somebody who believed in idealism versus realism, then or this utopian ideal versus a much more pragmatic, realistic ideal, then we're always going to be at cross purposes. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the things I would look for, um, in terms of, are we a good match?
Yeah. Yeah, and in our space things have changed a little bit. Post NAR settlement, we have to have a buyer's rep, so a contractual agreement before we open the door, or at least some kind of
Yep.
showing agreement that is, it's an agreement, somewhat of a contract, short term, limited properties or whatever you want to have there. But what I advise anyway is to try to get them in the office and talk about their goals and their objectives, get an idea if they're realistic, like you said, ideal or real.
Yep.
Um, and then, are they going to be flexible in reprioritizing some of those? Because inevitably, most people have to reprioritize. Like I've got my top
Yep.
10. It's like, okay, as an agent that you're going to maybe get 6 or 7 or 8 of those, and you're just going
Yep.
to have them prioritize because those bottom 2 or 3 aren't going to happen.
Right.
And then that's a perfect opportunity to kind of say, hey, I feel really confident in being a good fit for what you want to do here. I'm excited. You know, let's look at the next steps. Or, hey, in kind of our conversation, exactly what you just said, let me introduce you to somebody that I think would be a really good fit for you.
Right. So part of that is determining what they think about how the world works.
Mm-hmm.
And that will get at their presuppositions. I think there are things that will come up in what the buyer says that will help you get an idea about what are the most important values for them.
Mm-hmm.
Is it family, or is it Is it freedom? Is it, you'll start to to read these things by the things that they say are important to them. And then I would listen for me to understand what somebody really values. My two criteria are calendar and checkbook,
Mm-hmm.
which is, where are they spending their time? Where are they spending their money?
Mm-hmm.
So you're not going to get to be able to look at how they spend their money, but you'll be able to hear from them. Okay, this is what we do. That's how they spend their time. These are some of the expenses in our life. This is, you know, you'll be able to get a feel. And if they spend their time and their money on things that you don't think you can help them with, then you're probably not a great fit.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So you're listening a lot, right? Two ears, one
Oh
mouth
yeah.
for a reason. Listen twice as much, and sometimes it's not necessarily the words they say, but it's the tone they use or the mannerisms around that. Some presuppositions that I was thinking about when I put that down is, what age are you? Meaning, did you go through the 0809 meltdown, and now your presupposition is that home ownership can be devastating,
Yeah.
or your first time home buyer and everything you hear is kind of negative right now. Anyway, so understanding what those presuppositions are and can you help, right? I was in real estate during the mortgage meltdown, and got, pretty clobbered. So I have a lot of empathy for that. But if you're an agent in the last couple of years, it's hard for you to speak to that because you didn't go through it per
You
se.
didn't see it. I mean, if you're too young to have experienced that, or unless you were a young person and you saw your parents go through it and you were kind of on the
There you go.
receiving end of that, then that will definitely affect your thinking.
Yeah.
What sometimes happens is that you don't have a longer term view, which is, yeah, there've been bad times in the past, even prior to 0809.
Yeah, yeah, we got to get past it. So, yeah, so understanding if you're good fit experientially, have I done this before, or do I have a high degree of confidence? I got resources to play off of, or, I've
Hmm.
taken classes around, luxury homes, let's say, right? Everybody wants a multi-million-dollar sale home, but you've never done it, okay, be honest, you've never done it, but
Never
you've
done
taken
it. So
classes.
yeah, I mean, if you're a, 3 bed, 1 bath ranch on a slab, that's what you've done 100 of. You're probably not a luxury home person. You can work your way into that,
Yeah.
but there's a lot there that you don't know.
Yeah. Yep. So listen for presuppositions. And then what we talk a lot about and we're able to do, and this segues kind of into if you're not a good fit and you're trying to find the right fit, we personality match and experience match on our team. So maybe it's not me, but it's a team member. So that makes it super easy to do, right? But the other is that personality profile, right? There's all kinds of personality profiles. One that's often talked in our business is the DISC profile, right? DISC. Can you give us kind of a 30,000 foot view of how somebody could think about personality profiling and determining whether that potential client is a good fit for you?
Yeah, I would say, there are probably a half a dozen really popular personality profiles. I'd say half of those half a dozen are all based on that quadrant model of the disc. They
Mm-hmm.
come with different names. They name each of the 4 quadrants differently, but half of the really popular ones on the market are a variation of the disc, which is a fine and helpful. I'd say it's if you've never used any personality testing or any way of conceptualizing personality, that's a good starter. And then
Mm-hmm.
there are others, and I would say I don't really care which model you use, but if you're able to think in that framework, and again, it's not important whether you do the pencil paper thing, and
Right.
I would caution that it's a tool, not a religious expression.
Mm.
That if you use it as, okay, this is a useful way to categorize people, this helps me understand more quickly. But as soon as you get religious about it and think everything is those 4 or those 16 or those
Right.
9, whatever framework you use, as soon as you start believing that's um, that's dogma, then you
Hmm.
get in trouble.
Yeah.
And so I'm really comfortable with a lot of different profiles, but I use them as tools, not as religion. And so what is helpful first is to understand yourself
Hmm.
and recognize, okay, my personality is going to attract certain kinds of people that are good for me and repel certain kinds of people who
Hmm.
would be good for me. But I'll also repel bad people. That's good. But I'll also attract a certain kind of bad person.
Mm.
So each of our personalities, we're going to attract some of the right people and we're going to attract some of the wrong people. And we also have to know, okay, I typically don't work well with people who exhibit these character um, qualities or personality qualities. And rather than say, you know, I'm, I can work with anybody. Yeah, you can work with anybody,
Do
but
you
probably
want
not well with
to?
everybody.
Right.
So recognize that as, okay, this isn't about this person being a bad person. It's about that my personality and their personality usually explodes.
Yeah.
And
It's not, they're
so
not bad. They're bad for me.
right. And I know in probably all of the major personality systems which type or types are are my opposite, that when we get together it's not good. And so when I interact with those people, I go, oh, okay, this, as much as I like this person superficially, this is not going to be a good connection. And the same is true in every um, high stakes transaction where a person is a trusted advisor. You have to first recognize, okay, what are my limitations here,
Hmm.
and then find out which are the kind of people I most likely am going to work badly with, and which subset I'm going to work the best with.
Yeah, and I think that's a good distinction there when we're talking about, if we're qualifying whether we're a good fit for these clients or not. But there's another level of, yes, we're going to qualify and we're going to work with them, but then how do we communicate with them, right? You don't communicate, for those that you don't know the specifics, it's not super important, but you don't communicate the same way with a D personality as you do with a C personality.
Right.
You communicate differently if you know what personality type you are and what your tendencies are. If you're D, which is kind of driven, direct, short answers, and a C is not going to appreciate that. That's
Right.
not how they think. So you can be a D, but you need to understand you're working with a C, and now you're going to deliver more statistics and data and written information.
Yeah, and your normal way of communicating is going to be sandpaper to that other personality. And if you want to serve them well, then you have to adapt to them.
Right.
And if you can't successfully adapt to them, help them find somebody who does talk that language.
Right, right. So we're not, setting the stage for, pushing away a lot of clients, but what we are saying is in a perfect world, you've built a good enough business where you have the luxury of creating more perfect leaning transactions or,
Yeah, I mean,
experiences
just
than
who are
not.
your people? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
who are the people who like your the way you are?
Yeah, and this comes into the category of, are you running your business or is your business running you, right? If you're always going where your business tells you to go and you're always working with people, whether you like to or not, that's just being reactionary and
Right.
doing the things that present themselves to you instead of kind of a business by design. And again, knowing the framework around the perfect sales process, and now you're adhering closer to that more often than not. That's what we're trying to accomplish today.
Yeah. I mean, this is I mean, you've created a framework that if people work through this framework, they won't do it perfectly, but it will help reduce the amount of friction that they have with their clients.
Yeah, there you go, and that's going to come into play at the very final item again, which we might have to cover in a second part here. But let's move on to kind of rapport building. So rapport building. Why don't you just describe kind of the evolution, right? The perfect scenario of I've met you and now we're getting to work really well together.
Well, it comes in stages that we always with people start with small talk, and because small talk is testing, is this a person that I'm going to interact well with? So if you're at the bus stop and you say to the other person at the bus stop, "Hey, nice day, isn't it?" and they respond with, "It would be a nicer day if the CIA hadn't planted a bug in my teeth, and now it's just nothing but broadcasting talk radio in my head." Okay, I think I'm done with this conversation. So
Bus.
yeah, exactly. So we use those small talk conversation starters to determine, is this person going to respond back to us in kind, and then we start leveling it up. I mean, you don't immediately come out with your deepest darkest secret, and if somebody does come out with their deepest darkest secret,
Whoa.
that's probably a warning sign.
Yeah, it's called
So
TMI.
Yeah, yeah. So you gradually build that rapport, and so what you're looking for is similarity,
Hmm.
which is, in my profession, we call it attractiveness or similarity, which is you trust people that you find attractive to you or similar to you.
Hmm.
So you're going to look for common ground, and so in in the in a high stakes relationship like this, they're wanting to know, can I trust you? And so part of that rapport building is the content of what you say, but it's also how you say it.
Hmm.
So if
Mannerisms.
mannerisms, timeliness,
Are you
if
distracted? Yeah.
are you distracted? The mode by which they like to be communicated: email, text, phone, in person, and doing all those things, all of which work in that small little way to build level of trust or rapport.
Hmm. So I refer to that as earning the right to ask. Some people, I don't know if this is a good comparison, but I'll throw it out there. Like some agents won't even go show a house unless you'll sign their agreement and you're qualified to do so. Like right out of the gates, like they've got to know it. And that's okay. That they can run their business how they'd like to run their
Yeah.
business, but I think I don't know. That's not how I prefer to run it. I would like to you know, be face to face and really kind of understand what their goals and objectives are. Because some of that stuff can change, fairly quickly. Maybe it's not today,
Yeah.
but in 2 or 3 months from now, we can make this work. And then, but just to ask those questions: Have you got a lender pre-qual? Will you sign
Hmm.
my contract? Uh, that doesn't seem to me like you've earned the right to ask those
Right.
questions. That's my thought.
Right. But those are going to attract a certain kind of person. Other people, and if we go back to your personality typology, that are the C types in the disc system, they'll want the structure. They want that external structure because that external structure provides them security or confidence. And so they'll want to sign the paperwork right away.
Oh,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm in a commitment. I know what I'm doing. We've got a plan, and now we're executing on the plan. Kind
yes,
of
I can
like
work inside this structure.
that makes
And
sense.
so you work best with certain kinds of people, and you do it the way you like, and you try to adapt to the other people, but at some point you realize, okay, this isn't going to work, let me refer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It all goes back to how do you want to conduct, your business. Um, so if that's what you want to
Which
do.
goes back to, how much self-awareness do you have?
Mm,
If you really believe I can serve anybody, you have no self-awareness.
mm. Ooh, ouch. No, yeah, let that one sink in, right?
I mean, but that's the way we all start out. We all start out with no clients, no experience, no money. You take all comers, and that's how you learn. Okay, that didn't work. That didn't work. It's the school of hard knocks.
Yeah.
And the more experience you get, the more you realize, okay, I work best with these people. I don't work best with these other people. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So just to summarize real quick, you've set a really good foundation. They're inclined to look at you as their trusted advisor. You've kind of cement that in with the good first impression. You've got the established mode of communication, right? Text, call, face to face, email. You've spent some time listening to what their goals and objectives are, and kind of who they are as people, and how, not only what they want to do, but how they want to do it. And you're like, okay, like this could work really well. So you've got the luxury to do that. The rapport building, you've earned the right to ask a lot of questions, right? So, and I'm getting to resonance, but uh, one of the topics that's talked about by some of the coaches out there is, asking why, I don't know, three, five, in some cases, seven times, five times,
Yeah.
whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're going to get down to these questions, I've literally seen in a group format where somebody's done that exercise, and in multiple people, same session, got them to come to tears, because you're really digging
Yeah.
into what is important to them. And again, I think you have to earn that to really get the right response. But ultimately, you want the right response, because then you know the truth of the matter of what drives them.
Right. But the beauty about the five whys, which is a Japanese way of getting to root cause analysis, um, you know, you keep getting at whys. I mean, if they're sitting, in the back of your white Lexus SUV, and you keep drilling on why, I mean, it's an interrogation. And
Yeah.
so part of that rapport building is being able to ask and continue to drill down about what are those root motives. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, in a demonstration, it's very easy with the five whys to get somebody to tears. Absolutely. But this is not a demonstration. This is a relationship. Do
Right.
you really want to get people to tears, or do you want to get them to greater understanding? It depends on what your goal is.
Yeah, and I just think the more they trust you, the more rapport you've built with them creates that transparency and that sincerity that they can just kind of open up to, okay, now I know what's important. Let's make that happen. Because
Right.
inevitably what you thought the first, second, or third why really wasn't the root cause, and you could be missing the mark of something deeper, um, which could be a big miss.
And we often are, because we're so eager to chime in, to create rapport, to talk about how we're similar, that we don't spend time listening, quieting ourselves down to hear fully what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And so conversation, sometimes we do talk over each other when we're in rapport building, but when we're in the process of trying to understand and deepen, it requires us to slow down a lot more and give the person a lot more rope to run with whatever's on their mind. Then you can start asking whys. One of the things I find effective, rather than saying why, is to say, I'm a little confused. Could you help me out? Could you tell me a little bit more about that?
Mm-hmm.
And
Open-ended.
that's a that's phrasing that is not intimidating, and people are willing then to. People are always willing to help confuse people.
Right, right. I want to give you the answer, because that way you can help me more. So you started a really beautiful transition into the resonance side of things,
Mm-hmm.
and you've described this in multiple episodes in the past. But for the sake of kind of where we're at now, I think we've set the stage for better understanding why now resonance in this perfect sales process makes sense. Can you re-describe resonance and what you're trying to accomplish here?
Yeah. So I'll start this time with describing the opposite, which is dissonance. A resonant person seems to know what to say, how to say it, so that everyone around them feels better. A dissonant person always feels like they're throwing a wrench in the system. And they always seem to say the wrong thing, or they stick their foot in their mouth, or people feel uncomfortable. That's a dissonant person.
Hmm.
And probably the easiest way for me to remember it is, resonant leaders, resonant people join other people in their emotional state without saying you're wrong, and then draw them to a new emotional state or a new
Hmm.
thought state.
Mm.
And that takes a lot of interpersonal skill, and it requires that you be self-aware, self-controlled, able to empathize with other people, and then and only then can you join them where they are and then draw them to a new emotional experience. And so in real estate, one of the things we talked about is expectation versus reality. I'm going to get my 10 out of 10 list, and in reality, a great realtor is probably going to get 6 out of 10. Now, if they only get 1 out of 10, that's probably a problem.
Right.
But part of what a resident realtor can do is join them in their desire for the 10 out of 10, and then help them realize, boy, it's really hard to get 10 out of 10. Um, and I would love for you to get those 10 out of 10. Of those 10 out of 10, are any of those, you know, easier
Yep.
to give up than
Yeah,
others?
deal breakers, and I think this plays well into, if you've asked the whys and you've gotten to the root cause, and now you're
Mhm.
helping to prioritize, what's reality versus, preference, and they say, hey, this one's not a super big priority, and you're like, whoa, 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 wait a minute, this seems like it would be contradictory to one of your biggest whys. It
Yeah,
seems like that one should be elevated.
well, I think it's worth saying I'm confused about that. That seems
Mm,
to go against one of your biggest whys. One of the other things I think, especially when you're dealing with these high stakes circumstances, is many of us, well, actually, let me rephrase that. All of us operate on a verbal level of understanding, and then almost what one author calls a subliminal level of understanding.
mm,
That we have sensations, we have experiences, we just don't have vocabulary to describe them. It doesn't make them any less real, but they're important. And sometimes people don't know those sensations until they experience them.
mm.
So they can give you their rational list of their top 10, but they walk into a house that you think has 9 out of 10, and they look around and they say, I got a bad feeling about this house. It's just I'm creeped out, or
Mhm.
there's something about it that just I don't like. And if you pester them for explain it, explain it, explain it. I mean, you can ask them, I'm confused, anything, and if they can't explain it, that doesn't mean it's not real.
Mhm.
They either don't want to explain it to you, or they're unable to explain it to you.
Mhm.
There's so much of what we pick up in our environment that that we're not aware of verbally.
Mhm.
I'll give a quick example. You may have a bad feeling about a person, but if your dog hates them, you believe
Mhm.
your dog.
Yeah.
It's the same stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But we'll believe our dog before we'll believe our own intuitions.
Interesting.
So so I want really skilled professionals recognize that not all of our good reasons are easy to explain verbally.
Mm. Yeah, I like it. I like it. Well, I'm looking at the time here, and I'm kind of looking at where we're at in the topics list. I know we covered a lot of ground. We've got how to, be that trusted advisor, and then of course, you're going to have some objections, right? Everybody's going to push back either because they don't understand or something's not sitting well, and then how to best solve those problems. And then, inevitably, where most people fall short is on follow up, which is interesting because
So
anybody
yeah,
that's
let's dive back in on the trusted advisor part next time.
yeah, yeah, I love it. I love it. Well, to wrap up this episode, Dr. Hall, why don't you let everybody know how to best get a hold of you and what resources you have?
Yeah, and that's not a super recent picture of me, but I think it looks reasonably similar to how I look today.
Agreed.
That's at drrogerhall.com. That's probably the easiest way to get in touch with me. On that website, you can find out about my consulting services, both individual and organizational consulting. You can find links to buy my books. I've got three, one of which is an award-winning book, the DIY Brain book. I've got the follow up coming out, DIY Leader Brain should be coming out shortly.
And then you got some quizzes folks can
I
take?
got some online quizzes, the Freak Out quiz, and then the Worryometer. At some point in the future, we may actually have additional quizzes online.
Gotcha. So tons of ways to get a hold of you, tons of resources to look at. So I'd encourage you to check it out, as well as just again, give us a call. Let us know kind of where your business is at. You know, we're in the same boat, right? We have to qualify whether we're a good fit for our agents or not. So just kind of seeing what it is you want to do with your business, or maybe you don't quite know and you want to start to formulate what that looks like, really, right? Right? Because we spend a lot of time on, don't just go build a business. Go build a business you're excited about in the future.
Right.
You're passionate about and like doing. So we'd love to kind of help you map that out as well. But other than that, Dr. Hall, we'll thank you again for coming on, and we'll look forward to part two next week.
As always, my pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Have a blessed one. Take care.